Hey guys, it's Lauren. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today's video has taken literally forever to come, but I'm finally sitting down and doing it because baby girl, Poppy, is napping. Let's see if I can get a good view of her on the screen. She was born on September 5th, 2020, obviously, and I wanted to chat about my birth story. It was an interesting experience, and so many of you guys on Instagram have been waiting for me to talk about what it was like. I kind of chatted on it on stories, but I haven't really fully dug into it, I guess. I have some footage, but we weren't actually allowed to record the birth itself. So you don't see the birth, but I do have a few stories that I'll add in, and you'll see the process, but I'm just gonna jump right into my labor experience. I hope you enjoy this video. Hopefully Poppy doesn't wake up from her nap. We'll try to get as much done as possible. New mom life, right? Okay, so some of you already know, but I went to 41 weeks pregnant. This is my first pregnancy, and I was really anxious after 40 weeks. I could have sworn she was gonna come early. I had her in September. Honestly, that last week from 40 to 41 weeks is so long. You literally feel like it's the longest week of your life, longer than the 9 months that you were pregnant. So my labor started Friday morning at 4 a.m. having Braxton Hicks pretty much my entire third trimester, and all of a sudden I had like these almost like period cramps from my back radiating to my front, and I texted my mom because she gets up really early for work, and I was like, I'm having like these cramps and it's coming from the back to the front, and she's like, it sounds like you're actually in labor, because all week I was looking for like little signs that I was in labor, like anything. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like emotional. Am I gonna be in labor, or I have insomnia? Am I in labor? But I had these cramps, and it was 4 a.m. and I didn't want to wake up my husband because I was so excited not to wake up to go to the hospital, but I had so many Braxton Hicks I woke him up for that I was like, you know what, let me just wait and see where this goes. So it happened all morning long. We took the dogs out and it stopped. So I was like, oh no, is this like false contractions? And I was kind of sad because I was like already 41 weeks, and at this point I had booked my induction for that Sunday. So this was the Friday before my induction was booked, because I was just so ready to give birth to this baby, and I was massive. So I was just like so done being pregnant. At this point I wanted to meet baby girl. I was having contractions and they stopped, and then when I got home from the walk with my dogs, they started back. Nothing crazy. I didn't really think twice about it. They weren't painful, but I knew they were there. Just went about my normal day. Didn't think anything of it. And then around 8 p.m. they started to get like a little bit stronger, and they weren't like super painful, but they were kind of painful, but nothing that I knew I had to go to the hospital over. And then Kais made spaghetti and meatballs, and I love spaghetti and meatballs, and I couldn't eat anything. And usually we eat on the couch, and for whatever reason I was like uncomfortable sitting on the couch, so I went on the table and couldn't eat anything. So I was like, you know what, I just ate a little bit, let me just like try to relax and calm down, because I didn't think I was in labor. We tried watching basketball, and I love basketball, couldn't focus on it, so I was like, maybe I just need a funny movie to take my mind off these contractions. Tried watching Just Go With It, which is one of my favorite movies, and couldn't get my mind off the contractions. At this point they were starting to get like worse. Nothing crazy yet, but they were becoming painful. So I was like, let me hop into the shower, have a nice hot shower, and then get ready for bed. So I went into the shower, and still like no relief. They started to get worse, and I was started to time them at this point, but I was like, they're still far apart. I don't think I should go to the hospital. So Kais told me, my husband, why don't you take a bath? So I took a warm bath, and I lost it in there probably like 20 minutes. And by this point it was 11 p.m. at night. So I kind of was going back and forth between the shower and just like kind of just taking my time, and the bath was just super uncomfortable, and I had Kais sitting there with me, and it was just so uncomfortable, and I was like, I think I have to start timing my contractions again, because this is so super uncomfortable. I was in pain at this point where it wasn't unbearable, but it was definitely painful. So I started to time, and it was 4:11 when I timed. So I told Kais, like, I think it's time to go to the hospital. So we grabbed all our hospital bag stuff, and I went to the hospital, went to triage, and they checked me. And I should have prefaced by saying, at this point, like, I had my doctor's appointment on Wednesday, and I was zero everything. Not effaced, not dilated, nothing. Baby was still high up, cervix was high up, nothing was ready to go. So I was like, you know, I'm having contractions. This means I've dilated, you know, this is gonna be good news. So I got to the hospital, and they checked me, and nothing, like literally nothing, still zeros across the board. nothing. And I was so discouraged because at this point I was in pain. So I was like, okay, I'm in pain. It was bearable, but it was painful. So they told me to come back when my contractions were consistent, because they hook you up to the little thing that like shows your contractions, and my contractions were inconsistent, but they were consistent at home, which is so annoying. But on the contraction thing at the hospital, they're inconsistent. I was like, okay, so we left triage and I had to pee on the way back to the car, and by this time, like, I was obviously super pregnant. I was moving so slow, and I was like, you know what, let me pee now. So I went pee, and I noticed, and this might be TMI, shouldn't be if you're watching this, I'm assuming you want to know everything. And I noticed like kind of like what looked like my mucus plug, but I was like, you know what, it could be like the, you know, the gel they use when they check your cervix. I was like, it can't be my mucus plug, it's probably just the gel they used. So I didn't mention it to Case. He was waiting for me outside the bathroom. We went home, and I was like, let me go to bed, because obviously I'm not ready, everything's zero. So we go to bed, but we watched some TV first to try to get my mind off of it, watched Schitt's Creek, and still was in so much pain. I think I took a shower before I jumped into bed, and I was like, let me just try to sleep through this, because if I'm zero everything, like the nurse told me I was in prodromal labor, which is basically false labor. I'm like, if I'm in false labor and it's this painful, then what is real labor gonna feel like? So let me try to sleep through it. So I popped into bed. I think I slept for maybe half an hour to an hour, and I woke up in so much pain. So I got up to go pee, and I noticed like just like water pouring out of me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is my water breaking? So I went pee, and I noticed a bit of my mucus plug was on the toilet paper, and I realized that when I was in the hospital that I think I had lost my mucus plug, but I thought it was just the gel that they used, but it was like the same consistency, but a lot less. And then like just water was pouring out, and I was so unsure that it was actually my water that I called Kais, and I asked him to come look. So he looked, and he was like, yeah, there's just like liquid dripping out of you, and it's definitely not pee. So I was like, all right, you know, 100% they're gonna admit me. Let's go to the hospital. So excited because I was in so much pain, like so much pain. So we go to the hospital. Well, I called first. And they're like, all right, your water broke. So I went to the hospital, and I told them my water broke, my mucus plug is coming out, and they checked me, and they do like a little test to see if your water broke, and they're like, nope, your water didn't break. And I was like, I could have sworn my water broke. Like, it was just like this liquid was coming out. How is it not so? And they told me your contractions are still inconsistent. You're only 1 centimeter dilated, which I was like happy to hear at this point, because I've been hearing zeros for like so long. You're 1 centimeter, you're not quite ready, and your water doesn't break, so go home. And the nurse was like, you'll know when you're in labor, you can't talk through it, you'll know when your contractions are like real. And I was like thinking to myself, at this point I could barely talk through my contractions. So I was like, oh my gosh, like labor is going to be so incredibly painful, because I was in so much pain at this point that I could barely talk. So I was so sad, to be honest, and felt so discouraged, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because the nurse doesn't believe that I'm in the pain that I'm saying I'm in. I thought my water broke, so I'm crazy because it didn't break, and I don't know how this is going to go. So Kais and I drive back home, and I live like 15 minutes away. And at this point, it was like 3 or 4 a.m. So the first time I went to the hospital was 12. This is like 3. So we go home, and Kais is like, let me make you some toast. He made me some toast. I was getting so upset. So I was in so much pain. So I was like, let me call my mom, because this is now Saturday at 4 a.m. So everything started Friday 4 a.m. Saturday 4 a.m. I knew my mom was awake. So I called her to talk to her, because I was in so much pain. I couldn't talk through contractions. And I remember hearing that if you can't talk through contractions, it's time to go to the hospital. So as I'm on the phone with my mom, I have to stop like every 4 minutes, because I'm having contractions and I'm trying to breathe through them, and she's trying to talk me through them. And Kais is sleeping on the couch because he had slept all night, and he's so tired, and I'm exhausted, and I'm in all this pain, and my mom is getting mad now, not at me, but mad at the situation. I was like, Lauren, you sound like you're in labor. You need to go to the hospital. They need to admit you. You can't even talk through your contractions. And I'm like, I know. I've been trying to get admitted, but they told me this isn't even real labor. And then I would have a contraction, and I literally thought I was gonna die. So we start timing my contractions again, and it's 3-1-1, which means, if you don't know, I'm having contractions every 3 minutes, lasting 1 minute for an hour. And so my mom was like, you have to call the hospital. You're gonna have this baby at home. So then I called the hospital again, and the nurse that I just saw in triage was like, didn't really believe me. So I was like, I'm in so much pain. She's like, well, like, can you talk through it? And like ask me those questions. I'm like, I can't talk through it. I'm in a ton of pain. I need to come back. So she's like, okay, make your way back. So I go back to the third time. This has to be after 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. And the first time I went to the hospital was at 12 a.m. Okay, so I go back to triage and they're trying to put my like thing on for contractions, but I'm like, I have to pee. So I go pee, and then all of a sudden I feel sick to my stomach, and I'm like, I have to throw up, and the washroom's like right there, and it's like doesn't even lock, so I'm like, everyone's gonna hear everything. So I just start throwing up everywhere. And then I come back out to triage, and I'm like just in so much pain. I literally, on the car ride over, literally it was like, I don't know how I'm gonna go get through this. I thought I was dying, to be dramatic. Like I literally thought I was dying because I was in that much pain the last time to the hospital. So I'm like praying at this point, because I'm like, I cannot handle going home. I don't know how I'm gonna handle this pain. It was so, honestly, it was excruciating. It's pain I've never felt in my life, and it was the most painful thing I had been through. So they finally checked me, and hallelujah, I was 3 to 4 centimeters dilated. That's what the nurse tells me. And then she comes back, she's like, wait, you know what? I'm actually gonna get the OB to double check. And I was like, oh my gosh, like hopefully I'm actually 3 to 4 centimeters dilated. So the OB came back, she checked me, I was 3 to 4 centimeters dilated. I literally was like, oh my gosh, the feeling that I had, the relief was just incredible. So they took me to my room, and I was like, I need epidural right now to my nurse. I was planning to do a natural birth, or like a non-medicated birth, but I was like, I need epidural. So she's like, okay, let me get the anesthesiologist. And in between waiting for the anesthesiologist, I was throwing up. I felt so sick. She was trying to talk to me, and I like couldn't talk. I was just like, where is the epidural almost here? And she's like, he's almost here. And I got really lucky because I got the head of the anesthesiologist department, so I was like the best of the best, and I waited like 5 minutes for him to come, because I've heard stories where people waited hours, which I feel like I would have died. Anyway, so he came, and honestly, like, if you are pregnant watching this, epidural is not bad. If you're in as much pain, and you probably will be, actually I don't know, but if you're in a ton of pain like I was, getting the epidural felt like nothing. It wasn't painful. It felt like a prick, and then like a burning sensation, and like almost like an electric sensation to your feet. Like it's kind of like electricity, but not painful, because you're in so much pain already that you need like relief like right now. So I got the epidural, and it worked right away, and let me tell you, epidurals are heaven on earth. Okay, my nurse was like, you'll probably feel like a euphoric feeling because you're in so much pain, to no pain at all, and that's literally it. Like you feel euphoric. It is absolutely incredible. I felt like myself again. I was excited about labor again. I was excited about the baby again. I wasn't just like trying to like survive. It was amazing. Gosh, thanks. You can show the screen. All the contractions. You've been in and out of this hospital since 12 a.m. And finally admitted at what time?
7:30 a.m.
After 20... Wait, how many hours of contraction?
That was 26.
26 hours of contraction. And I'm gonna say get the epidural.
Got a TV.
6 centimeters dilated, September 5th, and I was 0 centimeters on Thursday, so 0 everything. So for any other mamas who have that, don't let that discourage you, because you go from 0 to 26 hours of horrendous contractions, but there you go.
Yeah, because even after the contractions, you're still 0, right?
I was 0.
Because
yeah,
you weren't.
I wasn't 3 centimeters till what time this morning?
7:30.
And before I go any further, I forgot to mention the reason why my contractions were so painful is because I had a posterior cervix, which the OB who checked me in triage told me. She's like, the reason why yours are more painful than someone without it's so painful is because you have a posterior cervix, like it's like facing backwards. I don't know. I'm probably butchering what it means, but she told me that's why my contractions would be amplified in early labor compared to someone who doesn't have a posterior cervix. So that is why I was in so much pain, and that is also why the nurses didn't believe me, because they thought I guess I was like a dramatic first-time mom who didn't know how much pain labor was, but it was incredibly bad. After I got my epidural, I got admitted at 7:30, and it was just like straight chilling, to be honest with you. I was actually progressing really fast. They told me I'd probably have my baby by 3 o'clock. And this was at like 8 or 9. I just kept progressing. And literally all I did was eat Jell-O, talk to Kais about how excited we were, and just hang out, which I'll insert clips so you'll see. Beached well.
Yeah.
I feel like one too.
I look pretty big myself.
Oh gosh. So I'm 7 to 8 centimeters dilated, and they started Pitocin about like an hour ago.
Yep.
Since things were like slowing down a little bit, and I have a peanut ball thing in between because baby's head's not the right way.
Should I show it?
No. Show it. And so far, how many hours in labor?
36.
36.
Yeah.
Oh well, 36 hours, feeling good off the epidural. So, almost there to push baby girl up. Pretty basic. I was just on cloud 9. I had my little epidural button, which I was like cranking up for fun, to be honest, at some points, because it was so cool to like watch the contractions on the screen, but not feel any contractions. And then the nurse would come in and like, you know, flip me side to side, and they ended up putting the peanut because my baby was still like high up, or Poppy, I don't know why I'm saying my baby. Poppy was still high up at this point, and they wanted her to drop, so I was like, I had a little peanut cushion. So currently 9 centimeters. I'm starving, so I'm eating a Freezy, and I can't feel anything bottom down, but that's a good thing for sure. And I napped a bunch, and yeah. How are you feeling, Daddy?
I'm good, really excited. I'm doing good. I'm not tired. I probably could fall asleep if I laid down, but I'm like too excited at the same time.
Excited?
I'm really excited.
I think you know my contraction chart.
Oh, it was like inverted for a second again.
I come back and fix it. Oh no, it was way before. I don't know how anyone puts on makeup during this. My contractions are so bad when I got here. I brought my makeup bag, so I guess I'll probably use it when we leave, but I probably look so haggard, but that's okay, because I feel like you want to relax and nap, so I look haggard like me. Yeah, we'll update you guys in a bit. I think the next update might be when baby's here. Well, you might not want to make me look so huge from the camera.
Sorry. She's not huge. We're almost the same weight right now. We're almost on the same. We're almost in the same weight class. It sucks though not being able to eat for sure. So my one tip is make sure you come on a full belly, because not eating is not fun. I could only have clear liquids, and it did not fill me, which I will get to that shortly after. And then at one point I stopped progressing, so they gave me Pitocin to help me progress, and after 3 o'clock they were like so shocked that I was like just kind of stuck. So long story short, basically did the same thing, lay in bed, talked to Kais, waited for my body to do its thing, and my nurse that I had ended up leaving, switched shifts to another nurse, and it was a really busy weekend. It was a long weekend in the hospital, so the OB was like all over the place. So they were waiting for her to have me start pushing so she could just like, I guess, come in and finish it. So she was so busy that my nurse was like, all right, you're ready to push. We're gonna start pushing. Even though I never actually made it to 10 centimeters, they said I only made it to 9 centimeters, but I just want to progress past 9. So they decided that it was time for me to push regardless. And pushing, to be honest, oh, I missed a part. Sorry, this video is just all over the place. So before I started pushing, I got really nauseated. I felt sick. So I think it was because I was starving and they wouldn't let me eat any foods, although I did sneak a few cashews. Bad mistake, because I'll tell you why in a second. So I snuck a few cashews, and they gave me Gravol because I was feeling so nauseous. And so after the Gravol, I was feeling obviously exhausted, and I didn't really nap. She kept telling me, you need a nap. Pushing is going to take a long time. You need a nap. And I was just so excited. I think I napped for like a half an hour. So definitely nap. They tell you to nap, take a nap. You're going to need that nap, okay? So I was nauseated. They gave me Gravol. I felt good. I changed nurses. Got to 9 centimeters dilated. She's like, let's push. And I pushed for 3.5 hours. And this is what I wasn't expecting, but I vomited while pushing, which my nurse told me is super normal. I never hear anyone talk about it. I never, like, on all the labor delivery vlogs I've watched, I mean, I'm sure no one would actually put it in, but I threw up all over myself. It was in my hair. It was down my chest. My nurse, like, was so good. She cleaned me all up. But yeah, it's like no joke pushing, even with epidural. So all you mamas who push without epidural, like, seriously, major respect, because I could not do that. But so yeah, 3.5 hours of pushing, and I probably would have pushed less, but it was such a busy day in the hospital that the OB was basically just running around. So at one point Poppy's head was just like kind of hanging out, like not hanging out, but like a little bit. It was like crowned, but like further than crowning, and I could feel it, and we're just like straight, like just hanging out with their head out. And finally the OB came. I pushed her out, and I was so excited to have her like on my chest. Kais was gonna cut her umbilical cord, and all of a sudden I just see like the OB working really fast. She threw her on my belly, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, like maybe she'll give her to me in a second. And then she says to me, you're gonna see a lot of people in the room, don't panic, everything is okay. And then she takes Poppy and goes, go, 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 to the nurse, and like run to the back of the room, and like basically almost what it felt like 100 people came like coming into the room. They came flooding into the room, and there was a code pink because when Poppy came out, she had a meconium in her lung.
20.
Pardon me?
9.5.
Oh my god.
42.20. Right?
CPAP started again at 9 minutes to. Sorry, honey. What was it?
9.5, 42.20.
She pooped on the way out, and then she had her umbilical cord wrapped around her neck, which I couldn't see. So I asked Kais the whole thing, like what happened. So basically everything was fine. I pushed her out, and as soon as the OB saw there was a cord, she like quickly unraveled, cut her, threw her on my belly to make sure everything was off, and then realized that like there's poo coming out and she couldn't breathe or something like that. So she gave her to the nurse, and they ran to the back and put a mask on her face and pump out the meconium, which took 3 times. I was obviously super scared, didn't know what was going on. I was crying, and I was like so concerned with like, uh-oh, like is my baby gonna be okay? The OB kept assuring me like it's gonna be fine, don't worry about it, everything's fine. And everything was fine. So after I took about 20 minutes, half an hour to get her all set up, they finally gave her back to me, and I could do chest to chest, and I was so happy because I was so scared, like obviously with the code pink. But yeah, so that's what happened. That is my birth story. I feel like it kind of just like has like no ending, because I was like such a climax, and then it's like that's it. Overall, even though the beginning was incredibly painful, I was not in a good place. I felt so like not depressed, but like really down when I was in that much pain, because I didn't think I could do it. After I got the epidural, I had nothing but a positive birth experience. It was incredible. It was amazing. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, mentally and physically. Pushing for 3.5 hours is no joke. I was actually falling asleep during pushing. In between pushes, I was falling asleep, but having Kais there was amazing. Him and the nurse were so good. Like, he was so supportive. He was helping me push, telling me what to do based on what the nurse was telling me. So make sure you have your husband or someone who is super supportive as your support person, because you're gonna need it. You're going to need it. It is tough, but it is worth it, and it is life-changing. It is incredible, but it is hard for sure. Hardest thing. And I couldn't even, after I was done it, I was in shock that I had been through like everything I'd been through. I was in 39.5 hours of labor, so basically almost a full work week, which is insane to me. But it felt pretty fast after I got the epidural. Anything prior to the epidural, like when I started after 8 o'clock on Friday night, it got tough, but prior to that, like early labor wasn't too bad. But yeah, when I was in active labor and everything, it was rough. I can safely say that. But it's funny because, like everyone says, you forget the pain of your labor so fast. I know it was painful. I know I was in so much pain, but I can't remember what it feels like. So I guess that's why people have multiple kids, but I don't want to feel that pain anytime soon. But yeah, overall, it was a really amazing experience. I wish I had footage of the actual labor, but I guess, I mean, it would have been kind of scary to rewatch again with the code pink, but it would have been kind of nice to have, but I just have the little clips that I have. It was the most incredible thing, and what people don't talk about is how amazing the care is after you have your baby. At least in the hospital I was in, when they moved it to the maternal and child unit, the care was incredible, and it's such a learning experience. I just go in and listen to the nurses, and just, it's so good. I learned so much. So I really enjoyed that experience. I also saw a lactation consultant, which I wanted to mention really quickly here, because if you're in the hospital, take advantage. Breastfeeding is definitely tough, but it is so worth it if you can have the right tools from the start, which I was so fortunate that I saw a lactation consultant a couple days after I had Poppy, so I was like good to go, set up. Not that it was like super easy after, but it definitely gave me the right foundation to make sure my breastfeeding journey has been a positive one, which it has. And yeah, that is my birth story. I hope I didn't leave anything out. I try to be as detailed as possible. Overall, it was an amazing, positive experience, but definitely not an easy one. And if you are pregnant and you're a first-time mom, you got this, mama. Honestly, you're gonna be amazing. And the thing is, your body is so capable of going into labor and all that kind of stuff. Even if you have to get an epidural or a C-section, it doesn't matter. Your body was built for it, and you're gonna do amazing. And thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thanks, guys.